are we done with this conversation about the contract? Because,
for the most part,
because speaking of tier levels, go back to y'all conversation that we were debating about when y'all think that the players from a certain old-time player should be removed from the all-time list.
Oh yeah, that's next. That's the next one.
That's what I'm saying. We just transition right into that. So,
all right. So
let me explain this to me because I want to hear this, please.
So, you guys know how the top 75 list came out. They had previous top 50, and before that they had top 25.
Right.
So, when you look at these lists, there's a lot of players on this list. While they were great and for their era, they can't hold a candle to some of the players now. Only because as time goes on, the game's going to get better. Evolution. Those dudes had to work summer jobs. They didn't have the nutrition. They didn't have the training. So you have a lot of guys now who do things better than they did, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a certain point where...
My leg is twitching.
No, it's going to be a certain point where we still have to pay homage to those guys before they become obsolete on this list. And I want to be able to put them on there because I'm saying this is because as time goes on, we don't know what conditions they went through. How it was only 8, 9 teams back then. It's not fair to me compare 8, 9 team players. The team that got like 32. Think of the situations that were back then. Somebody averaging 18 a game. Somebody averaging 28 a game. Think of the things they had to been through. People's 8, 9 all-stars on the team. Hold on. I'm almost done. And you got players stacked on the team. It was just different circumstances back then. There's going to be a point where the people that were alive for that ain't going to be here. It's going to be word about just saying, all right, we're going to leave these on the team. I think we should still be able to pay homage to those players by putting them on a list, acknowledging what they did, but a separate list.
Why?
Let's say, all right, that's what I was thinking about. Every time they come up with the list, they should just be like, all right, for this era, whatever era it is, this is like the top 25
from that era, yeah.
From this era.
Yeah, like
not adding on to what they're doing.
Yeah, now, man.
Because I can't judge what Wilt and them did because I ain't see them play. For the people that's voting. Now you got people that's voting that didn't see players play.
Right.
You know what I mean? So say from this year to this year, this is the top 25.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Then when you do it again, we're gonna do the top 25 from this year to that year.
But then
and leave those out of it. They still there. I'm just saying, just leave those out of it.
Then
and it's not about who's number one. It's not about who's number one of all time. It's just about who's number one from this year to this year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we have better athletes now.
Because the people that are judging
resumes
these people play.
Resumes are beatable. There wasn't even stats being taken care of for some of these players.
Good question. Then
that's all I'm saying.
Here's my. I'm gonna get to your point in a minute, but I go back to you first. Quick question. Why? What is the benefit of moving these players off of the list and putting them?
Because you're only putting them there because they were first. Like you're not putting them there based off of what they did.
Going by word of mouth.
No, what I'm saying.
Not just going by what they did.
No. I'm saying, what is the benefit of taking?
Putting the right people that deserve to be on the list.
Who? Okay, then that goes to my next question. Who's not on this list that deserve to be on the list, and to where one of these old players is taking up a spot that somebody else could take?
Well, I'm saying as far as being on the list, there's going to be people like I feel like if you ask me, like. Clay probably end up taking somebody's spot on that list. Clay should probably be up on that list.
I'm gonna argue that with the fact that Clay is not on that list, and players who came in after him are on this list.
I'm saying though, but if we out the right players, the best players, Clay is better than a lot of dudes that was playing back then. You only got him there. You only got those players in there because they were first. That's kind of why you got them in there. No. You want to pay respect to them. That's why they're in there.
That's what I'm saying. That they can stay there, but just from this era, this is just the top 25.
Now
this is just the 25 from this era from that era.
If you do that every 10 year, 15 year run, these were the top 25 of this 15-year run.
Yeah.
These are the top 5 of this.
Okay.
As that builds, you're going to see lists the way you're going to be like, all right, say 1980 to 1995, that's 25 right there, right? Now we got from 95 to 2010. Best 25 right there. Somebody's going to look at that list and say, boom, like who should be here, who should not be here, who should be here, should not be here. Once you start building up enough people, either you're going to end up
that debate.
What I'm saying is either you're going to end up with a top 150.
You're going to end up with that anyway.
They should just do it that way anyway.
It's going to end up that way.
Stop making minuscule in it for 75. Why minuscule?
Because you minuscule for I think what they're targeting is the people who were elite based on people who were just superstars. everybody on that list they consider. I'm pretty sure they consider it as the elite of the elite, the best of the best.
For that era.
Their standard changed. That was elite for that era, but if you're talking about standard across the board, it just doesn't hold a candle.
I think that's what they're looking at. They're saying that they still would be considered elite still now.
But a lot of people that's voting now haven't even seen them guys play.
Who?
People that are voting now haven't even seen some of them guys play.
But that's why they're cemented then. They're cemented.
Right. So I'm just saying, so when you do
why,
this list now,
why are we removing
just do a top 25
I'm not saying remove them, just give them a different list.
That's still removing them because you're making room for
What I'm saying, removing them because
not,
things have changed. Before the 1969 and 70 season, they weren't even keeping averages. It was just total.
I know that.
So you think about all the nuances and stats and now they're keeping have changed. It's just not fair to keep them on a list. To compare them to the players
that either way you look at it.
You can
talk about how they shoot the three. You can talk about how they shoot the three more now compared to they shot back then.
Right, you compare it now, everybody a better 3-point shooter than it was back then.
But that's why you don't judge it off of that criteria.
Right, but certain players
either way, it's going to be unfair situations because, like you said, I think a lot of the reasons why those guys are still on this list is because they're judging impact too before that era as well, which for a lot of reasons holds weight because it's they can't help. They played in that era at the same time. They contributed to the game of basketball.
Right.
They contributed to the NBA list.
Right.
So regardless, it's almost like taking them off the list is disrespectful.
No, I say give them a
but see, the thing is,
even giving them a separate list is disrespectful because it's like at the same time it's like, all right, we're judging players from the start of the NBA till now.
Question: how do you look at Mount Rushmore? Some people look at Mount Rushmore of people who started the game and they can never be replaced because those are the pillars of the game.
Mount Rushmore are the greatest players to play the game. Period.
Greatest.
Okay. Some people don't look at Mount Rushmore. They look at it like the staples and the pillars of that particular
the
at the time, and it can't be moved and it can't be changed.
But it's four on the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, and it can't be changed. Four.
So the greatest 4 players of all time.
It could be changed.
I mean,
eventually somebody's going to somebody did come off for LeBron.
Right.
Somebody came off.
A lot of people feel like that can't be changed. Like some people,
it can be changed. It's fluid. Right. That's
fluid. A lot of people don't feel like that.
But just like the top player is fluid. Like before Mike, they were looking at Kareem. They're looking at Wilt as the top. They were the conversation right there. Then Mike came along, so that no longer was the conversation. Now Mike is up there. Now you got some people debating that LeBron should be up there. So that position still is interchangeable. That doesn't change them from being the top best 75
Right, and that doesn't change the
top. Right,
but you only got him. You don't got him in there. Like, so that's what I'm saying. You don't got him in there because this player was so dominant. This player was so nice that he was better than everybody else. You only got him in there. Because they owe and the impact they had. The impact. That's it. No. Because they're getting surpassed stat-wise. And they're getting surpassed.
Right, what you just said. Because they impact on the game, and you can't deny what their impact is on that game, regardless of what you've ever seen or not. Now, to get to your situation with remember we always talk about context. Like you just said, we definitely never seen none of these old dudes play. Period.
And there's not enough stats on that. What they went through was nothing.
Right. That's my point. And that's my point. Whereas we didn't see these dudes play. But if we go to an old head or whatever, like we go to somebody older than us who did see these dudes play, you'll hear so many great stories of how they played, what they impacted, the circumstances they was going through, certain things they had to overcome while they were playing, the things they was dealing with, blah, blah, blah. Like you would just hear a whole slew of stories, right? You would hear a whole slew of stories of what they was able to do.
Nothing but tangible.
But see, the
media wasn't like that back then. The print and all that.
But you never heard of it. But you're saying,
the thing you get mixed up is we're not taking them off the list. We're just saying when you go from a different era, it's a new 25.
I feel like moving,
or new 10.
I feel
whatever
like not
you want to
including
do.
them is the disrespectful.
It's not including.
He said switch the list up from stop being top 25, 75 period to being an error list. So he's not even.
Yeah, I'm just talking about an error list.
Saying making it an error list.
Saying that,
so he'll take a Hal Greer, put him in an error list.
That's all I'm saying.
What I'm still trying to understand is, but I'm finishing my point earlier. But what I'm still trying to understand with that is, what are you gaining from that? Who's been so egregiously left unincluded that you like? Oh my God, this is egregious.
Howard.
That wasn't his, but that came from the people that watched him play. It's not the old heads that's taking the spots. He got dudes that came in after him that they got voted on this list, and he was not voted on. And this came from the dudes that watched both of these guys play.
No, but that's because the older people on the list they knew were untouchable.
Right.
So the only people they could take off were people that's from the new era. They left them untouchable people on that list. We're not messing with those because they're older and we're going to leave them alone there. And that's why Howard got snubbed.
I know.
If you made everybody up for grabs, they would have got to it.
No, all right. You're saying that. Tell me right now, there's not players that are still playing today that made that list that should have made that list over Dwight Howard. It's about
they should be on there.
No, it's about 5 or 6, 7 players that are still playing to this day that made that list over Dwight Howard, that should not be on this list. And that's not based off of old head taking the spot. They felt like that player paid but had a better career than that person still playing to this day, and they still not done.
That's why I want to know what the real criteria is.
Right, that's why I'm saying like the old heads are not taking up the spot.
I want to know the criteria too as well. Because you're talking about somebody like Hal Greer, his numbers ain't crazy. His stat line, his resume is very beatable. It's very right, but one part shouldn't be able to get you on that list. It got to be some other things.
You're going off of one thing. That's what I'm saying. When I'm going back on the point with context. Like I had a point. I was arguing with somebody the other day, and we were talking about context. Say for instance, not that here come an outlandish point. Say for instance, God forbid, LeBron's career was the end of today, right? LeBron's career was the end today. Based off of stats alone and accolades, no context. Since they always want to have this GOAT debate, you compare him to Mike's stats and context, technically he shouldn't be in the GOAT conversation. But because we watched him play, we watched the context of what he had to go through, how he played, the fact that he went to the championship 9 times, that's never going to be on his list of accolades.
I'm confused. What you mean stats wasn't GOAT? He's over Mike and everything.
What do you mean over Mike?
Every stat.
Talking about accolades. I said accolades. Okay. I said stats with accolades.
I mean accolades. They're almost right. They're almost like right there.
No, they're not. Now when you talking about go with defensive players, scoring titles.
No, when I'm talking about Bron played longer than him, so a lot of things he has more.
What I'm trying you're talking. Listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're talking. Right, but you're talking about the fact because we watched him play. If you go
about defensive player,
right.
I'm just saying, Brian's playing longer,
but he should have more. That's what I'm trying to say. If you let Brian's career in now, you're not going to know that he got to the championship 9 straight times. That's not listed on his list of accolades. Right. Only the fact that he got 5. That he got 4 rings. Mike got 6. So they're going to be like, all right, he don't belong there. Right. MVPs, he only got 4. Mike got 5. You don't belong there. Defensive player of the year, he got none. Scoring titles, Mike got like 16. He got none. You don't belong. So what I'm saying is, that's not going to be listed. So we have context that keeps LeBron in that GOAT argument.
Right.
The old heads, what I'm trying to say, but the older players, we don't got that context. So we technically are not even fit the judge to say they shouldn't be on there. Because we don't got the context of what they would do.
Should be on there, right?
Huh?
Then you got to go both ways, right?
That's why you don't mess with it. That's my point. Because you have no context to debate them off of that list.
That's why you just change the criteria of that list, man.
For what?
Like I said, it got to be different metrics of this list. If you only gonna tell me, if I sit with you and I'm like, yo, why is this person on the list? You be like, nah, impact. I'm like, what impact? You be like, oh, they were first. Like, now I'm asking you to go deep into it, and you can't tell me what impact. What impact he had? What impact Hal Greer?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying he didn't have impact. I'm saying, do you know?
Right, but I'm saying we are not fit to judge that. That's what I'm saying. If I was to go to somebody that watched them play, they don't have a whole slew of stuff of why they should be there.
No, but you can look them up. Like, you can't find.
No, you can't look that up.
That's what I'm saying. So. You just got them on the list because they old.
No, you got them on the list because people who put them on the list when they was the first 25 knew what effect they had on the game, knew what impact they had on the game, knew how they played.
I'm born. It's more reputation.
Right. It's who
I don't think half of these people vote when they ever seen them play.
Right.
Not now. I'm talking about the fact that they was already there when they first got voted on there.
The situation too, because with that top 75, I think I heard SA say she struggled. He struggled when it came to Bill Walton being on the list.
He shouldn't be on the list.
And choosing Bill Walton and somebody else.
Yeah, I know.
Bill Walton should be on the list. You agree with that, right?
But Bill Walton?
Yeah.
I can't speak to that. I personally, what I feel.
No, he's not that old. You can find. No.
You're talking about that old where you can find certain games. You put this way, you can find all the best games.
Stop. You don't gotta be political. He's a 2-time All-Star. Like you don't gotta be.
Political.
Oh, I know. He should be on the list.
Based
on that, you ain't gotta be on the list.
That's what I'm. But this is going back to my context again. Based off of his stats alone and everything on his list, you're right. He shouldn't be on there.
Right.
But if I talk to somebody that talk about how impactful Bill Walton was with that Portland Trailblazers team, they're going to tell you a different story.
So, I could say Drake the greatest rapper alive, and I could just explain that to you, and you're going to be like, all right, he the greatest rapper alive? You just saying because somebody word of mouth.
You were saying you could say that based on, like we said, based on Bill Walton's stats, he shouldn't be in there. But like I said, if you talk to somebody who watched him play in that Portland Trailblazer, they'll tell you a whole different story of how much of an impactful player he was. You're saying that you could say Drake was the greatest rapper alive. You're right. Why? Because you saw him, and that's your opinion based off of what you saw. And then you're gonna have record albums, stuff, stats, and everything to back that up. If I never heard of Drake in my day in life, you're right. I'm probably gonna like, who is that? What is that? So I feel like we're not qualified. I still feel like we're not qualified to say these old dudes should not be on the list just because basically we didn't see them play. We don't know what they was going through when they played.
I know, but I think you looking at it as like we trying to like get rid of them. We're not trying to get rid of them. I'm trying to find a way to still honor them by keeping the list true to what it means.
That's still being true to. That's not
like you just got them there because of that. Like you're not really getting them there.
So hold on.
Why would you? I'm trying to figure out. Y'all not giving me a point to explain me what are you gaining by removing them from the list?
Making a real list.
That is a real list.
It's only there because it was first, bro.
No, they're not there because they were first. They were there because that's what the impact they had on the team.
All right, but the game has changed so much. Is why the evolution of the game is why I want a different.
They started the evolution.
What I'm saying is that it's a different game. It's just not fair to compare them to what's going on now.
Who's comparing them?
Off the list either, though.
Right.
That's why I want to give them on the proper to what that era was.
So you take them off the list because you're worried about the fact they're going to be compared to the dudes of this.
No, because if I tell you, whatever, I'm just going to throw somebody. If I tell you Clay belongs to this list, he's a 3-time champion. You be like, oh, nah. I'm trying to think of a player. Because I don't want to keep saying how great. You just keep coming to my mind.
Go ahead. I was going to say John Havlicek.
I'm going to say Hal Greer just because it came on mine. It was 9 teams back then, right? 8 teams back then.
Not what Hal Greer was playing.
That's what I looked up. When he first came in the league, it was 8, 9 teams. It started again later when he came. Then it went 8 when he first came in the league. Next 3 years, it was 9.
For the Sixers, it was more than that.
It was 8 when he first came in the league.
Yeah.
Then it went to 9.
Okay.
And then it started slowly going up after that. His first 6 years, 8, 9 teams.
Okay, go.
So if you're comparing that to what goes on now, 32, and I say, oh, he's a champion. You're like, oh, also he was a champion. It's context to that. It's different. Like the level of going through it is not the same.
You just said it's context to it.
It's what I'm saying. It's a different game. They don't even keep the stats the same. It's just a different game.
So
you can't use the stats because it's different stats.
If I use context,
there's too much that changed.
But if I use context based off, if I go by context and use based off the fact that it was only 9 teams back there, you still gotta play against them 9 teams.
I don't care because you count them.
Whatever, you still got a ball.
But it's context, right?
But that's based off the talent that you went up against. You still those players was just not dudes or bums off the street.
I was watching the games that they put up there on YouTube, the few that they had, but I was watching.
But right, you're just seeing
they running 100 miles per hour. Defense.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But you only got whatever YouTube can show you. You don't got every.
It's a different game. It's just such a different game, man. Like whatever you said they did great, somebody here does better. But you only got them there because of them with the time period that they stuck in there.
I disagree with that because if that was the case, they would be on this list. If you do it better than
that's not true.
That is true because that's my.
If you had somebody elite 3-point shooter back then, they don't hold a candle to anybody's now.
Say what?
That shoots threes proficient now. They do it more. They shoot it further. It's different.
But you're going off of one. That's what I'm saying. You're locking down. You keep pointing at one specific thing.
No, I'm talking about anything that somebody did better. You had American the best dunker. We got better dunkers now. Everything is better.
But they're not there for that. That's what I'm trying to say.
You only got them there for one specific part of the metric.
No, it's not one specific. It's just the meat of the metric. It's not the one specific you have because you can be impactful in the game and not have no stats to back it up. You're not on the list.
Anything, Russ?
That's my point. Like you got it. Like for that. Like for that.
Stats is good for back then. Man.
I don't know. I just feel like it's hard to take them off because I feel like it's disrespectful. But I do want whatever the criteria is to keep them on. It needs to be fair enough to be able to keep this thing moving. Where newer players can be put on there at the removal of somebody who maybe is less impactful.
I believe I believe that criteria is what's the reason why they're still there.
I don't know if it truly is because
they keep thinking that's just because they were good.
Yeah, I won't go as far as to say that. I won't go as far as to say that. But I think some of these players too that were still put on that list, it's so much behind the reputation and respect that they don't want to remove them from that list.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then just to go back to your point,
which is unfair.
Right, but no, I don't know.
But it's unfair too.
No, I don't think it. But just to take a segment from your point. Like you said, we got way better elite 3-point shooters right now, right? The first ever best 3-point shooter is not on the all-time list. He's not there.
They didn't even keep the 3-point shooting back then.
I'm talking about when they.
I know, but that small adjustment to the game, it's just not. It's a whole different.
But game. I'm saying, but even with that small adjustment to the game, the best 3-point shooter, the first best 3-point shooter is not on the all-time list.
Right, because he did other things better.
No, he didn't do other things better. That's why he's not there.
People did other things better.
That's my point with these players, these old guys that are on the list. It's not just their stats that's got them on the list.
Right, but if you can't even research their impact, and you go by, there's people, we can't even switch it. There is artists, there are certain powerful people that are held in a certain regard that you don't agree with. That back then they had them in that regard and you couldn't put the finger on it. That's the same thing I'm saying now. Just because they help, there's certain people or artists that you agree, that you feel like that isn't where it should be. You know somebody in your life or anybody you could think of that's super higher, like, I ain't never see that in him. You know somebody.
Elvis.
Disrespectful.
Thank you, somebody. You know somebody. There's somebody that's held up.
He's disrespectful?
Yeah. That's an Elvis.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Okay, all right.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
All right, take that though. So if I'm like, you like, oh, everybody said he was great, and all this and that. Like you going by the metric that they're telling you. Just because somebody telling you somebody great, I don't know what hand and stake they got in that person. I don't know what that person did for them. That's why they saying this. Like you don't know. But so I'm not going by word of mouth. I'm going by the eye test.
Right, but you're going by the eye test of what you saw. So then that's the case then, because if you go down
they
this
control the narrative.
No. But well, the victor always controls the narrative. That's always been the story.
If I get my buddies to write, I'm the greatest player of the 80s, and that's the only articles you see.
No, but what they always say, the hunter is always the one that tells the story, not the lion. So that's always been the case. But either way,
lion win.
Huh? Unless the lion win, but that's a different story. But I'm just saying. But going back to what you were saying, you're going off the eye test argument. So all I'm trying to say is that's the reason why I don't think we are qualified, because we don't have the eye test argument to compare that to.
So that's the whole point. That's why you need to test end it.
Exactly. You got a portion that you can't even justify why they know that.
But with another list.
But you're doing that for us. You're doing that because we don't know for other players. But you can't say it to somebody that watched these guys play.
They all dead.
They not all dead. They not all dead. They not all dead. That's what I'm saying. We can say that because we didn't watch them play, but we can't say, we would not be able to sit in front of somebody that watched these players play and say this, and they gonna look, it's like we crazy.
That's because they have a biased narrative of it.
A biased narrative they watch them play?
No, because most old people don't like the new change. Most old people don't like change. They don't like change. So they're going to be like, I love the way it was played back then. Players didn't complain about the refs. It was way better then. And they're going to feel that way about a player. Old people don't like change.
That's a dangerous
keep it in mind.
That's biased too, though.
Right, that's biased too. That's a dangerous slope. Right,
but old people don't like change.
No, but that's biased.
Don't like change.
That's biased because
nobody likes change.
Old people don't like change.
Nobody likes change. But it's biased on both ends.
It's biased on both. That's why I said don't leave it.
No, but he can see that though. You can't see the other end. He can see both ends. You can only see one end.
Because I don't think it should be right that you don't have the criteria to say it. If I can see if somebody from 1960, 1950, you sat down here and said, "Yo, Bill Walsh, you put it like this."
Right, but all right, but this is the end all to it. You said I don't got the criteria to take them all. You don't have the criteria to leave them on. Right. So it's the same.
That's why I'm not touching them. That's why I said you shouldn't touch them. But I said you shouldn't touch them.
I can't justify.
Right, they're already on it. And that's what I'm saying. They already on it. Right, leave them alone. That's what I'm saying.
All right, so that's not a good metric to keep somebody on the best list. Like, I don't know why to say leave them all. Come on, man. That's corny.
And when we said in the car too before earlier, I was saying I don't know the metrics of why they're on the list. I just feel like as time goes on, I do agree the players get better. Mm-hmm. You know, they're more athletic. Their game has changed, but it needs to be a criteria where if this player that played later is better than this player that played in an earlier time,
he'll make the next 25 list.
Right, he shouldn't be on that list. Like his slot needs to move.
No, he'll be the next person on the list. You make the list. That's what I'm trying to figure out. You will make the list.
The better player needs to be able to move.
The better player will make the list. Like we just did the top 75. So the next top 100, the next 25 best players from that point on is going to make the list. The ones that didn't make the 75 on, if they was going to make the list.
Like just because you skipped me over in the Hall of Fame, the first 3 tries I went, you gave it to me my 4th.
I'll give you a better example. And this was an egregious situation that they talked about for years. On the first 50, because you want to talk about players that didn't make the list. First 50, Bob McIndoe was not on the list. They was talking about that, said that was egregious. This new 75, he's on the list.
Right, but did Shaq deserve to be on that top 50 at that time?
Bob McIndoe made the list.
Super early in Shaq's career.
They did errors.
But what I'm trying to say is, when y'all talking about that certain players are getting left off the list, I'm saying when the next go around if they're...
All right, question. Why was Shaq on that list? He was super...
Shaq shouldn't even been on the list.
The same way AD's on this list.
No, I'm telling you, media was different back then. So
but
you saying all these things
is that the players'
we don't know.
Is that the players' fault that the media was like that?
You don't know what back then.
No,
you don't know anything.
Here's another egregious point. You don't know anything. No, here's another egregious point. We want to keep talking about Wilt. They wasn't keeping all the stats that Wilt was able to do, rebound and stuff until later in the years. Mm-hmm. So technically, Wilt's numbers are skewed because there's certain stuff that we probably are missing because they wasn't keeping the stats for him. Yep. Is that his fault? Is that his fault when it comes up to the greatest conversation that they wasn't keeping those stats?
I'm actually not really talking about Wilt because Wilt kind of transitioned to the 70s, so it's more tape on Wilt than it is other people.
I know, but
I'm not really speaking on Wilt. It's an eye test for Wilt. I can actually see Wilt. Like I can actually see a lot.
You can't even fully see Wilt because we
I can see a lot.
What did he just say? What did he just say? We didn't see the 100-point game. It was leaving recorded on video.
But I can see a lot from Wilt, and I could build you a 30-minute montage of what Wilt was doing. It's enough information.
That's because he made it to the. That's because he made it.
You can't do that by everybody else.
That's not their fault. On the list. It's not their fault.
So you just putting them on there because of hearsay?
No, I'm putting them on there because they earned the spot.
So how you know that? How you know they earned the spot?
So I'm saying you don't have no problem when they do the top 10, but you have a problem when they do the top 75.
Huh? What you mean?
Top 10 like every year, or
top 10 every year changes. The top 10 every year changes.
I'm talking about the greatest.
The top 10 every year changes.
No, it's not the greatest.
Yes,
no, not the greatest of all time.
Yes, it does. Some people slide in there because you got certain players that stand in there.
Only people that could slide in right now would be Curry.
No.
Or Giannis. That's it.
No. The people.
But I'm saying you had to knock
Steph, KD,
so who you
LeBron,
knock,
and
but
Giannis.
you had to knock 3 people out to get that.
Okay, you got to knock people out to get that.
So you don't have no problem doing that with the top 10, but you would do that. I'm just saying, the top 75.
So what do you mean top 75? You have to earn that spot. That's what I'm trying to say. Y'all keep saying.
I'm just saying, you don't have no problem knocking nobody out the top 10.
No, if you did it better than somebody that's on the list. But based off.
I'm talking about biasness because you're saying biasness is why you still got AI over Steph because you're biased. AI is dear and hold to you, so you would never move him for nobody. And that's the same reason on the list. This is the same reason on the list. And a lot of people think like that. That all about these older players.
And that's why some of these players are still on this list because when it came time to vote. And
they was biased.
They was biased. They was like,
that's what I'm saying.
Some of these guys are dear.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
And I can't not put them on this list.
Because of what you
know
right. But you know what you watch them do, what you watch them play, what you watch them going through, reputation, right? Everything. You watch them play. That's why they there.
They got Jimmy Walker at 50. You know when he on Good Times?
Jimmy Walker. I'm about to say that's
that Good Times.
Dynamite.
Good time.
I'm done.
But that's why going to get younger and younger, right? So it's going to be nobody on the voting list that's seen a play at some point.
But that's why they don't. That's why they cemented their.
Give them a different list because you don't got no way.
What are you gaining?
Their story is not going to continue. You just saying, oh yeah, this person was first.
If you keep going down that path, then that means eventually Brian and Mike gonna be obsolete.
No. We have media. The YouTube exists. I can see everything. Why you keep getting over social media? Media exists. I can see everything about Brian 100 years from now. I can't do that about none of these old players.
I got a question for you.
None of these old players.
All right, I got a question for you. If you talk to certain players that watch Kareem play from Milwaukee Bucks.
I'm not talking about Kareem.
No, stop. Let me finish. If you talk to some of these older people that watch Kareem play from Milwaukee Bucks years to his LA years, they gonna tell you they have him over Mike.
Okay.
Plain and simple. Because they watch him play.
He got a crazy resume too.
He got a crazy resume to back it up.
He got video.
But that's not a unanimous. That's not a unanimous decision. Most people got Mike as the greatest player of all time.
Okay, because they saw it. They saw the comparison. We can't see no comparison. I can see Kareem. I can see Mike. I can't tell you about Paul Risen. Can you?
Wait a minute.
If you compare him, can you compare him to Dwight? No, you can't. Right?
No. You said you can see Kareem.
Yes.
And you can see Mike.
Yes.
But you still have Mike.
Yeah, because what I saw, I can make
a fair
video
judgment. To make that judgment.
I can make something to make that judgment.
The other guys
you don't have
no
video on them. You just talking. If I had you say, yeah, tell me why Paul Risen is on this list, you don't know nothing. I'm looking it up. You gonna have like 1 minute. You ain't gonna have nothing. That's what I'm saying. You don't even know yourself.
Because that's what they said.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the point. Right. That's my point. That's my point.
That's how that is. This is gonna be an hour video. You gonna help me edit this too. You gonna help me edit it. You specifically, because it's your fault. So I'm gonna say half to you, half to you. It's gonna be you.